We indulge in conversations every day. A conversation may be short or long, but one thing is essential. We should try to make a lasting impression after every conversation, especially with strangers. Even though we participate in these activities regularly, we are sometimes not that good at it, and we seem to ignore some simple etiquette of conversation. In this video, we will be learning about the etiquette of conversation that you should always observe. So tip number 1, initiate a topic of conversation that everyone can enjoy. Have you ever gone out with a group of people and there's an inside joke that you definitely weren't there for and you can't take part in the conversation and you're left there going like, and you're laughing and it's just so awkward? That is poor practice when you are having a conversation with a group of people. Now, not only is it really unfair to choose topics that are going to exclude people, we really should be choosing topics that the other person is going to find interesting. Now, how do you figure that out? Well, you can obviously ask the right questions, of course. What I find easiest is to ask people, what do they love the most? What do you love to do with your spare time? What do you love to read? What do you love to watch on TV? What movies do you love to go watch? This usually gets a certain passion and fire ignited in the person, and people love talking about themselves. If you've asked this question and the person that you're conversating with gives you an answer that you have no clue about, you can ask them about it. And this is such a great way to get the ball rolling in this conversation. Tip number 2 is to ask for opinions. People love this. When having a conversation with someone, don't just keep offering your opinion alone. Ask people for their views. Find out what they think, then listen to them sincerely. A good conversation is one where all parties involved participated well. You will be thanked for being an excellent communicator if you seek opinions rather than being the talker of the entire conversation. People love to talk and to be listened to. And you know what? They will remember you for allowing them to express themselves. So therefore, asking them for their opinion takes the conversation and the relationship to the next level. Okay, tip number 3, we have to learn to respect people's space. You're always wanting to try and make people feel more comfortable around you, right? So I want you to picture this. What would the distance between a doctor and their patient be? Now I want you to picture, what would the distance between two lovers be? Now, what would the distance between two friends be? Can you see that within all those examples, there's going to be a difference between the spatial awareness in every one of those situations? Do your research on social zones and intimate zones and see how you can ensure that you are giving the most appropriate space to allow people to feel the most comfortable around you. Especially if you're a man. I think living in the day and age that we live in, I think sometimes certain situations or certain miscommunications could be totally avoided if some men understood spatial awareness a little bit more and social zones and intimate zones. I think sometimes, yes, some people are just wanting to be a creep and they're wanting to get close to you. But I think sometimes maybe some men, they've grown up with all women and they are a little bit closer. I knew somebody like that and it gave the wrong impression. The social zone, at its most distant, allows you to read the body language of the other person so that you may see if they are open to an introduction or conversation. At the social zone's closest, you may have shaken hands and be having your first words together or be addressing a work colleague. You will naturally understand the other zones because of your relationships. So the next tip is to listen more than you speak and don't interrupt. We have previously touched on this in other videos, so I'm not going to go too deep on it today. But if this is the first video that you're finding of mine, I have a whole playlist all on etiquette that you might just want to head back and go watch those videos. Because essentially, we're not wanting to talk too much because we end up then getting ourselves into a state of oversharing. Now, with saying all of that, this is why it's going to be so wise that we, and the next tip is, think before we speak. I think often we are thinking about how we are going to respond to somebody when they're speaking, that we actually aren't taking in the information that they're saying. And then therefore we're missing a whole heap of information that they've contributed to the conversation. We often fall prey to this trap because we get excited and we want to give our input, or we want to show the person that we understand where they're coming from. If you saw the short that I put up on this channel a few weeks back, you saw that I got a lovely email from a subscriber. Now, I do think that this subscriber did have very pure intentions, but unfortunately, I think her excitement to want to help me with her input distracted her from the other rudisms of her email. Now, I personally wasn't offended and I got on with my day-to-day life, but in this particular email, it was just one of these moments where you often don't know what's going on in somebody's personal life, and therefore there's certain things that we shouldn't comment on, no matter how excited we may be to give a little bit of friendly advice. As I already mentioned, typically when these few steps happen, we then fall into a habit of oversharing. When involved in a conversation that sparks our interest, we can easily give out too much information about ourselves or other sensitive information. It's important to not share too much information when speaking. Be conscious of yourself. Try not to exceed the information you want to give out. Control what people need to know about you, your friends, or work matters. Don't leave the conversation regretting and wishing you had not said certain things. But oops, you've already said it already and you can't take it back. So here's how I have been circumventing this. I'm really trying to only respond to the question that I'm asked. I've really learned recently that often we give people way more information than what is needed. I'll be honest, my TikTok journey has really shown me that. And so I really am just enjoying answering the question that is at hand, and if the person chooses to ask me a further question from there, then I can share if appropriate. But I find that when I just answered that one question, it's allowing me to assess and not overshare and not get too excited and just explode all over the conversation. So why not try that out as well? You can use this as the rudder to keep your mouth quiet and not overshare and not think before you speak. Anyways, my friend, if you are enjoying the topic of this video, we are going through this book here, Etiquette Secrets. I would love if you picked it up as well. I'm going to have a link for you in the description box, and if you choose to get it, let me know, and then make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can be here for what we discuss from this book next. Thank you for watching.